Okay, back with the tracker again. This is the the center console, and this is my old switch panel for all the lights and things, and it had a voltmeter and 12-volt power outlet, some USB stuff. But this switch broke, and then I guess I could have replaced that switch, but I decided just to replace the whole thing with a new one. So here's a new one. Should go in there. One thing I did, oops, that's upside down, was I didn't like how these buttons were out here just standing proud, and I would typically bump them. So I wanted to build a frame around it to try to protect it. So to do that, I had to slide it over a little. So I cut my hole out here a little bit bigger. Slide that over, you can see where the hole used to be here. Now it's going to be there. And then I welded this guy, which is just some 3/4 inch tubing, and I just welded it to make a frame essentially. Cut the 4 pieces, welded them together, and then I'm going to put that right there, which will protect those switches and keep it from bumping into them so easily. And then just got to get that up there now and weld it to it, and then I'll repaint it. So it should work okay, I hope. Got the new one installed in there with just drilled the new holes and put it in there, and then I got a frame up here, and I just went ahead and tacked it a couple places. Now I'm going to take it out and weld it completely so it doesn't melt my switchboard. Okay, got my switch panel out, and I went ahead and put a couple clamps that'll let me get a nice tight fit up there. I'm going to go ahead and start welding this together. Okay, got it finished welding it on there. Did a solid weld across the top just to keep water from getting down into the switch specifically, and then I did solid weld there. Then up under the bottom, I just did a couple 1-inch welds just to let water drain out of there if any gets in, just right down in here. It'll have somewhere to go. You can see how the weld gets so hot it ruins all the paint even much further out than I ground it. So I have to go ahead and brush that off or grind it off so I can repaint it. It'll be the same thing on the inside too. Get my switch back in there in a couple minutes once it's cooled down. Okay, and I'll just show you what I got back here. So all the previous stuff was mounted here and here and here, and you see I went ahead and just closed up all those holes with weld, and then this is where the live well intake was. I went ahead and closed that off, and then this is where I'm going to mount this transom or transducer support. And went ahead and took a straight edge with just a long piece of tubing, and I just held it up around the corners of the boat, drew me a straight edge there because I wasn't sure just how flat this bottom was. Then I got me a couple right angles here and here just to use as guides. So now I can get these the right distance apart, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just more or less eyeball them to make sure they're straight up and down. One there and one there, and we'll get those welded up. Okay, got my supports welded on there. Just got them about 1-inch welds on both sides of each support. That should be plenty strong to stay up there forever. So it doesn't have to support much. And now what I'm going to do is just put that plate up there like this with some rivets just to hold it on. Then I'll screw my transom or my transducer in here. Okay, let's get it up. Okay, I'm done with this little project. Now, when I get ready to get finished painting everything and reinstall, I'll just mount my transducer right there. And if you didn't notice, I did end up having to, I was going to mount it over here, but I realized before I welded and all that I needed to move it over because of these grooves under here. That transducer really needs to be right in between these where it can get some clean water. It's not turbulent. Okay, that'll work. Okay, now I've got that last little project completed. Moving on to the next one, which is going to be to deal with these corner brackets here. I think these are important for supporting the transom, keeping the sides straight. These are just a good important thing, but pretty sure when I stressed the transom towing a little, these might have snapped right here, and this crack goes to right there, which is not that bad. So I got to figure out how to do that. I can't just weld that. It's not going to weld and hold. At least I don't think. So I've got to figure out something different to do. And on the other side is even worse. This one cracked here. And that crack goes all the way around to about there. So that's a pretty good crack. And then here I had a shallow water anchor mounted here, and it was just carbon steel on top of the aluminum, and it really corroded the crap out of it. This is broken, and this is broken right in there, so I definitely need to fix this corner bracket. Just not sure how to do it. Okay, went ahead and ground down these welds on the outside until they snapped, and then I came back and cut right along here to meet up with the end of that wire so I could pop this out. So I got that little piece out, got some of the paint off. I think what I'm thinking about doing is maybe, since this is all messed up, I may just cut this here, cut off this lip that kind of folds down, and then just take a piece of angle and put it up under there like this and bring it back to here and just weld it all back together. Okay, I got a little more progress. I ended up, cutting that off, that lip, and then I was able to, back here, I made a relief cut in this because this cap corner support or corner cap's not welded or captured, so I just cut a little relief cut, and I was able to lift this up a little, and that allowed me to clean up under there and also clean up under all there. So with that done, I should be able to weld it. And I think what I decided to do when I had prepared this piece of angle I cut out, I'm going to put that on there more or less like this on top, and then I'll just clamp all this down, cut it off here, cut it off there, clamp it all down, and then weld it in here, and then this will be pretty good support, and we'll fix where that crack was, which I'll still be able to weld all this. I'm just going to follow where the crack was. It doesn't matter. And I think that should be a lot stronger. This is this piece is only 1/16 inch thick, really skinny. So this is a 1/8 inch angle. So this is a lot stronger, and to be out here on the hypotenuse, which will be the strongest spot. So let's get going. Let me just show you what I'm having to do to get this welded. You know, it needs to have a pretty good bend in it right there, but there's nothing to clamp onto back here. So what I have to do is lift this end up and torque it a little bit this way, weight all this down so that I can get this more or less pretty tightly fit. And then I'll weld this end and then bend that end down. There we go. Tack this in just in a couple places, and then I bent the bar down right where I had it lined up, and now I got it just clamped there. So I'll go ahead and tack this a couple places, and then I'll start having to clamp it across here to do a long continuous weld there. Going okay. Okay, starting to get dark, but I finally finished up this corner. This is where I put that relief cut, so I kind of fixed that in a crappy way, but it's good enough, I guess. Where I'd broken another piece off, I just went ahead and followed this around, and I got my piece of angle in there. It goes all the way across. And here I welded it, you know, right along here, along there, and then just inside the transom there. Got a lot of starts and stops you can see on my welds, but it's in there. I think it's okay. I got it all the way there and, you know, up across. I think it's good to go. So that's the repaired corner, and I will still have to fix this part where it's a lot of corrosion, but that's easy. I think that's good enough. Get ready to do the other side tomorrow.